The problem is, you're in turbulence, and you better attach your seatbelts, right? And you better grab something that's solid, because everything that's not solid, the value of it will go to zero pretty faster than you can think, right? And if you're dealing with government paper that's paying you 5%, 6% interest, it just doesn't matter to me what these people say about liquidity, about these contraptions like BTFD and stuff. They just don't matter, because ultimately the government is absolutely going to debase your currency, and you can hold anything you want, but you cannot hold government currency. It just will not work right now.
Presenting Fred Krueger, the brilliant thinker with experience in both mathematics and entrepreneurship. In a recent interview, Krueger has provided important new information on how unstable our current financial systems are. By carefully examining charts and patterns, he predicts that fiat money will eventually fall, while Bitcoin will continue to rise in the next years. According to Krueger, unless we make a shift towards more durable assets, such as Bitcoin, our economy is on the verge of collapse. He supports the decentralized aspect of Bitcoin, which makes it immune to the decisions of governments and central banks. Krueger calls for a radical move away from fiat currencies and toward assets like Bitcoin as their value continues to decline. His belief that Bitcoin's value could rise to stratospheric heights is based on two factors: its limited supply and growing usage. Come explore Fred Krueger's insightful analysis, in which he explains the exact reason behind his bold predictions.
I think that this better form of money that was invented by Satoshi, do we think that that's going to dominate? In my opinion, it's very simple. It's like this inflation stuff is going to it might get better. It might get better over the next, year, maybe 2 years, but it's ultimately going to get much worse. And, Bitcoin is not pricing today's inflation or tomorrow's inflation. It's pricing long-term inflation. The problem is, even if inflation is good for the next 2 years, it's very unlikely that it's going to be good for the next decade. And the reality is, your money doesn't buy you. Your money buys you somewhere between 25% and, let's call it 40% of its value, as it used to before the pandemic. That's just a fact. And if we start pushing money printing to the next level, your money's going to be worth half as much as it is in 5 years. It will be worth in 2 decades. It'll be worth 10%. The problem is, you're in turbulence, and you better attach your seatbelts, right? And you better grab something that's solid, because everything that's not solid, the value of it will go to zero pretty faster than you can think, right? And if you're dealing with government paper that's paying you 5%, 6% interest, it just doesn't matter to me what these people say about liquidity, about these contraptions like BTFD and stuff. They just don't matter, because ultimately the government is absolutely going to debase your currency, and you can hold anything you want, but you cannot hold government currency. It just will not work right now. It's not a valid way to hold your money. Now you could debate whether stocks is an okay way. I actually don't think it's gonna. I think it's a very substandard way of holding your money right now. I don't see anything that has the long-term, anywhere near the long-term track record of Bitcoin right now. I just think people are ignoring the magnitude of what the tsunami that is about to hit in the next 5 to 10 years. And I don't want to sound like Peter Schiff or an alarmist, but I actually think I think this is going to get far worse than anybody thinks. We're screwed. Inflation, as Sin says, it's a mathematical certainty. So I think we got to look at, what does that mean? That means we have to be in Bitcoin, right? We have to be in Bitcoin. If you want to be in gold, fine, be in gold. Probably not as a good place to be as Bitcoin. We know that the power law that we all track and love for Bitcoin, it also applies for Bitcoin versus gold, right? So Bitcoin's eating gold's lunch. And so, if you want to have some in gold, that's okay. You probably are going to do okay relative to purchasing power of everything else. So it's not the worst, but probably going to underperform Bitcoin. Will we have pullbacks? Yeah, we're going to have some pretty nasty pullbacks. We're definitely not seeing the end of kind of these pullbacks. I personally think we're going to go higher before we pull back the next. I think we're kind of at the level for now of this particular pullback, but do I know for sure? No, I don't know. Do I care? Not really, because I just don't see any alternative right now other than to be close to fully invested, whatever that means for you in Bitcoin. I think you got to be pretty close to fully invested here.
A recent argument regarding why Bitcoin's price hasn't increased despite possible changes in Federal Reserve interest rate policy was anchored by roundtable presenter Rob Nelson. The head of OTC trading at Blockville, John Dine, argues that the strength of fiat currencies, especially the US dollar, has an immediate effect on the rate of growth of Bitcoin. He says that Bitcoin has a more difficult path ahead of it, while fiat currency, like the US dollar, is appreciating in value. Dine believes that Bitcoin may reach unprecedented heights in the event if the Federal Reserve indicated a reduction in interest rates. Dine also draws attention to the careful balancing act the Federal Reserve needs to perform in the current complicated environment of policy and the economy. Dine claims that the impending election and the pressing need to manage inflation are the two key variables influencing the Fed's actions. How do you feel about this development? Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Let us now return to Fred Krueger and his exploration of Bitcoin and its wider implications for the macroeconomy.
Do I think that we could be down 20% in a month? Very easily. It's very possible, right? But you can't optimize for that, and you can't try to trade around that. You can't be too cute. None of that stuff's going to work. The only thing you can do is hodl. And so, that's not kind of what these crypto people want to hear, because they kind of all want to hear how they're going to revolutionize this or that, or, how to tie into banking or something. But it's really not. It's not about tying into banking or tokenization of real world assets. It really isn't about that. It's really about finding a real alternative to this fiat mess that we're in, which is going to be really scary. It's just, you can't underestimate how serious and scary this stuff is. And, I think if you were scared out of your mind with COVID, be prepared to be even more scared out of your mind in the next couple of years, because I just feel like the wheels have come off this engine. The wheels are coming off. Hold on to Bitcoin for dear life, because that might be all you have. You might lose everything else. You might lose your house. You might lose your job. You might, you might have nothing else other than your Bitcoin, right? That's kind of where I think you have to kind of have that mindset. I as much as people think we're back to business as normal, we're not business as normal. Bidenomics has not worked. We're definitely in a sort of a false economy, false narrative of everything's great. Right? I know you're going to hear a lot of that on TV. The economy's great, everything's great, but it's only great because we're pushing the gas pedal at full speed, and we're pushing the gas pedal right in the middle of a major recovery, and so. We're headed for the wall. I don't know whether the wall is going to be a crash, or is it just going to be things go up. I think things go up in terms of prices. That's kind of my expectation. I think they're going to talk about this stuff. They're going to explain it away. They're going to come up with some other stats saying that it's not a problem. But I think it's at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, really, who do you believe? Do you believe in the code that tells you 21 million? Or do you believe what this nonsense that these politicians are telling you?
In his analysis, Fred Krueger highlights the unpredictability of the present economic structure and the critical role that Bitcoin may play as a stable asset. His main point is to hang on to Bitcoin as a hedge against economic unrest. even if he does warn of possible short-term declines in its value. As he feels the fiat money system is fundamentally wrong and facing serious problems, Krueger highlights how unique Bitcoin is from it. He makes the argument that the economy's seeming stability is deceptive since it is the result of unsustainable policies. Given the ongoing strains on the system, Bitcoin's fixed quantity and decentralized structure make it a dependable replacement. Through his insightful analysis, Krueger urges people to put Bitcoin's long-term worth ahead of the shifting narratives of politicians and central banks in order to prepare them for the economic problems that lie ahead. What are your thoughts on this? Share your opinions in the comments below. Until next time, happy investing, and don't forget to like, subscribe for more videos like this.